Hey, good morning. It's Brett here, and we have started on Musings, waiting on Scott again. He's probably got a phone call dealing with some real estate stuff. So what we're going to do is just run his ad, and then we will go from there. So I find the ad. There it is. Hold on.
When it's time to hire a real estate team to help you buy or sell your biggest asset,
you want a realtor who puts in the effort to train properly to help you win.
You want a team that works hard to understand the current real estate market.
A team that attends your home inspection with you and knows how to negotiate all the potential issues that may come up.
A team that works together on all transactions, making us available anytime you need your realtor, including evenings and weekends.
A team that understands what it takes to negotiate and win when there are multiple offers on the table.
We have been training for this moment. The moment of making your real estate transaction a success.
Who are we?
We are Team Titans of Real Estate.
Team Titans is ready to put together your playbook to win in this current real estate market. Call us at 586-232-5144 and ask for Scott or Jill.
Together we can achieve more.
All right, Team Titans Real Estate sponsoring our beloved Odd Musings here again, as always. And let's see what I got here on the phone. Yes, hey, that's an email response I requested. So, okay. So, well, as we wait for Scott here to figure out what's going on here, I guess I'll fill you guys in on baseball. That's right. I'm wearing my baseball shirt today for ALS. That is the Lou Gehrig's disease, and this was a shirt they put out in sponsor of that. But Tigers won yesterday. They won 3-1. They almost gave it away in the bottom of the ninth. Boy, the Houston Astros came back. Were fighting hard, but my Tigers won out. Very excited. They won the first game in the playoffs. It's first time in the playoffs in 10 years. Struebel's the pitcher. He's just a great pitcher. He's shoe-in for the Cy Young. He won the pitching triple crown, which means he got the most wins, best ERA, and I think the most strikeouts is how they calculate that one there. So just a team that, just a couple months ago was like, they're not going to do anything. Fought back hard and made the wild card playoffs. It helps with the expansion that they got into the wild cards, more games, stuff like that. And of course, now they always talk about, October, but usually the World Series anymore goes to November. So it's going to be the beginning of November before all this is done. And hopefully my Tigers will be there. And then, of course, the Lions, Monday Night Football winners, get Seattle Seahawks. First time they beat them in a few years. And it was great to see that on Monday Night Football. And Jared Goff, 18 for 18 for passes. That was an NFL record. And in fact, he also caught his first touchdown pass thrown to him. So it's funny watching Dan Campbell say he was kind of upset because he should have gave him the game ball after all he did with the passes and then getting his first touchdown. So that's kind of interesting on that stuff. So great weekend Detroit sports going on right now. Really enjoying all that. And of course, we're just coming out of the summer weather, slowly getting into fall today. We're looking at some 60s degree weather. And then I think we're going back up in the next couple of days on the temps. But man, it's been a run of weather. Usually by now we're seeing a lot more colder stuff, but we'll see some 70s this week here in Michigan and then down there. Hopefully the rest of the country, as well as out west, is going to be very hot too. I will be heading out west anytime soon, but next week, week from Friday, Kevin and I will be down in Orlando for Spooky Empire. Spooky Empire is a great horror show down there. I'm going to pull up the exact location here for you and pop that on the screen here once we get that. It's going to be at the Hyatt Regency in Orlando, Florida from October 13th, 11th through the 13th there. So it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday show. And they have different hours than a normal Comic-Con. They go a little bit later on Friday, and then they start a little bit later on Saturday and Sunday. Because they do a lot of party stuff at the nights on Friday and Saturday night. So fun show on that. Looking forward to being there. We got a bunch of guests going to be there. So you definitely check some of those out. And if you're going to come on out and check out, so here we go. What we got here right now is the autograph rooms. It's going to be 5 to 8 on Friday, 11 to 7 Saturday, and 11 to 5 Sunday, an hour earlier for the VIP attendees. So they have an autograph room. I've not been here in a long time, separated from the vendor area. They do photo ops, of course. People like Carla Gugino going to be there, Clyde Barker, Lily Taylor, Alicia Witt, Roseanne Arquette, Doug Jones, Jessica Roth, Thora Birch, Celeste O'Connor, Chris Sarandon. they list Ken Page here, and of course they haven't had a chance to update their site. He passed away yesterday, unfortunately. We learned about that, and it's a shame because I was actually thinking about having Chris and Ken sign my one of my pieces I've done. And it's a shame. He was a great actor, not just Oogie Boogie. Did a lot of Broadway, things like that. So it's a shame that he passed away on that. But we're also going to have Michael Gross, went from Tremors, as well as Family Ties. Dee Wallace, formerly Dee Wallace Stone, Ernie Hudson, William Atherton, which is cool. I've not really seen William Atherton in a show, so I think he's going to be there. Doug Bradley, Barbie Wilde, Nicholas Vence, Simon Bamford, Ashley Lawrence, Andrew Robinson, Craig Sheffer, William Ragsdale. That's kind of cool. He's, of course, from Frighteners. I think it's Frighteners. Yeah. I always remember from Herman's Head. And so that's kind of neat. He's going to be there. Amanda Beers from, of course, she's done some horror movies, but she was also Married with Children. You've got Dorothy Felding, Jonathan Stark, Stephen Jeffries, Christina Leese, Alex Vincent, Christy Swanson. I've seen Christy at shows before. She seems to be a really great guest at a lot of places. I actually might go meet Sid Croft. He's one of the creators of all the Sid and Marty Croft production stuff from the 70s. There's Witchy Poo there and the Slee Stacks, from Land of the Lost, things like that. So I think that might be kind of cool to go meet him. I follow him online on Instagram, so I see some of his posts and things like that. Eugene Clark's going to be there. A few other people I don't really know everything about because of the different movies I haven't seen. Frank Dietz, Bill Bryan. You got Trevor Newland's going to be from the new Alien Romulus film. Then you got Kevin Mangold, Rob Mello, Andrea Sub, and that. So a lot of interesting kind of guests going to be there. Got a few voice actors, actresses, and different things like that. And then cancellations, unfortunately, Jackie Earle Haley canceled, Jim Pye, and then Jeff East from Pumpkinhead. Jim Pye is part of the Ghostbusters franchise there. So the scheduling happens, and this is something I've seen at shows forever is guests cancel, and people get upset, and I know that, but there's not much you can do about it. I mean, it's they do a tattoo festival, but people cancel. It's just kind of the way it is. It's tough. So this is a creator's track. I'm not familiar with all this, but a lot of people that do different works, looks like a lot of books and things like that. So there'll be a lot of cool stuff to see at this show. They don't see it at a normal Comic-Con. That's what I like about horror shows. I definitely see a lot of different things there. So looking forward to doing this show, being there. Last time I was there was about 10 years ago, and I went there just one day as to kind of check it out with some friends at the time, because we were down there doing Universal and Disney that week. So it gives us a chance to check out all that stuff there. So try to see if we found. Here we go, exhibitors. So let's look through some exhibitors here real quick so we can figure out if we were listed here. Actually, that's just for applications. Yeah, I don't want that. Special events, costume contest, live performance, zombie walk. So you can find us under Bardstone. That's where we're going to be listed at. So definitely come and check us out there. Looking forward to that show. And then after next week, so 2 weeks from now, we're going to be at the Cincinnati Comic Expo, and pull that one up too. They got some great guests there as well. Looking forward to this one as well. This will be my last show for the year. I believe Kevin is going to be doing another horror show at some point somewhere, and then we'll get information on that for you guys. And I know Scott's planning on doing I think one of the Fantasticons, so he's going to be at that show as well. But yeah, this one here's got a lot of great guests. Originally they had Chuck Norris coming out, but unfortunately he had to cancel because he's doing a bunch of commercial filming around that time. But definitely a few things here. I noticed they got Lee Majors, the original Fall Guy. I tried to watch the Fall Guy movie last night. Man, is that horrible. Don't waste your time. Even though it's free on Peacock, I didn't like it. I thought the acting was horrible. I got about half hour, 40 minutes into it, and I just shut it off. It was not good. And it definitely didn't feel like the original one. I mean, the premise behind it, I know you're going to do things different in movies, and I understand that, but I think the original premise worked better than what this one did, where he's trying to find the guy he always is the stuntman for. And I just got boring and just very flat acting. So let's take a look at comic creators here. I like the fact they got a lot of cool comic creators coming out. People like Alan Davis, Bart Sears. Those are some of the big news. Howard Shaken's going to be there. In fact, he's going to be next to us. So if you find Howard Shaken, right around the corner is going to be Kevin and I. We're going to be right next to him. Kevin Eastman's going to be there. Jeff Edwards. We got like Peter Smith, Matt Wagner, Larry Houston. I see Larry out in San Diego every year. He's part of the original X-Men stuff. You can see all the credits behind these guys here. Simon Bisley, Z.M. Thomas. So a lot of great lists there of some great comic. I like when we see some good comic guests going to be there. And of course, you got to have celebrities. The celebrities are going to be there. And like I mentioned that Chuck Norris had to cancel. But there's a lot of cool. They got bringing a lot of voice actors. Doing pretty much, I think all the voice actors from the new X-Men 97, or most of them are going to be there. Emily Swallow, she played in The Mandalorian. I got to meet her in San Diego a few years back. Real great stuff. He was great in The Patriot with Mel Gibson, which would have been a great thing on that. So there's Scott.
Hey, sorry.
Yeah. Every week. I'm getting used to it.
I know.
So I was just going through some of the guests here that are going to be with me down in Cincinnati. Already covered.
Oh,
Spooky.
nice.
Now you're doing a show in a couple weeks, right? Or if you actually doing something?
I think it's November.
Yeah.
It's the Fantasticon up in Port Huron.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
So,
the blue.
Yeah, I'm
Bridge.
gonna give them a try. It's been a while since I've done a Fantasticon, so it's not that bad of a drive. So I thought, you know what? It's been a
I'd
while.
say it's an easy drive to go up for. You don't have to worry about hotel costs and things like that.
Exactly. So I thought, oh, why not?
Yeah.
I gotta shake the rust off of doing a show, anyways.
Yeah. I already ran the ad for Teen Titans, so we're covered there.
Oh, nice. Very
And
good.
that.
Thank you.
So, and then just kind of cover that stuff there. But man, we've had some news this week. I do want to talk Penguin with you though, because I got a chance to watch Penguin.
Oh, nice.
So we'll talk some Penguin.
Yes.
And that, but man, we've had some celebrity deaths this week.
Yeah, quite a few.
Yeah. Ken Page was one I was mentioning during the Spooky Empire. He was supposed to be in Orlando next week.
Oh, really?
For Spooky. So along with Chris Sarandon from Nightmare Before Christmas. And I was actually thinking, I was like, oh, I should go meet them because I've got the Nightmare Before Christmas piece I did. Maybe I'd go meet them, get an autograph on that from both of them, because I've got Oogie Boogie up in the moon, and then I got, of course, it's Jack Skellington as Santa. But I was like, man, that was a shock. And then Frank Fritz from American Pickers passed away.
Yep.
And that was another one there. They announced John Amos had passed in August. And I was reading about that on Variety, and Hollywood Reporter. His kids were in a battle over his care. So his daughter didn't even know he passed until she read it on social media yesterday.
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think that's just, when you hear stuff like that, whether famous or not, that's just ridiculous. It reminds me of the Casey Kasem thing where Gene Kasem, his wife, would not let his kids see him at all for years. And as he got sicker and sicker, and then when he died, it was like, well, he's gone, and we've already buried him, and you can't, or cremated him, I think is what they did. But and then so they never got a chance to say goodbye. And it's, the thing with that stuff is, it's not about the person that died; it's about the people living having their chance to, have their little closure when the person passes, dealing with that death, and to not have that opportunities before or after sucks.
Oh yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, I feel like that might be part of the problem with blended families is, one of the spouses might not have loyalty to the other part of the family because they're not truly related to them anyway, so they might not care.
Yeah, and that happens, and that's a shame too. It's you just hate hearing that stuff, that people just can't get along on these things and learn to work out. The differences are whatever they are, but you don't have to deny someone the fact that, unless that person says, well, look, I dealt with the biological side of this person, I don't want to deal with them anymore, and they walk away, that's on them.
Well, and there is the other side too. We don't know the inner workings of the family. It could be that their kids were assholes, and and that person didn't want to be the kids involved.
Well, it sounds like though with the John Amos one, it was his son and the daughter were fighting over the care, and the son was, I think, manipulating the financial. It sounds like it's all dealing around financial. I'm sure stuff will come out. There'll be a big lawsuit, and we'll see what happens there.
But I've dealt with a few deals where, like the kids were so bad. Like we did a deal where the estate ended up going to a neighbor because instead of the children. Because the kids were so horrible to them their whole life, and so the kids were written out of the will, and the neighbor across the street got the house.
Oh wow!
Unrelated.
That's crazy.
yeah. So, you just don't know. It's, families can be messy, and it seems like
Mhm.
a death in the family really reveals a lot of that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that stuff comes out of woodwork then. So the
Yeah.
other one we lost, Christopher Scofferson died this week too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean, there's been several others over the last couple weeks. I just, it's like we're in that stretch like we were a few years ago. Where it's like,
Yeah.
they're just lining them up, and just taking them out. And Dikembe
Yeah.
Mutombo from NBA basketball had brain cancer. He passed away too at
Oh, I
58.
didn't hear that one.
Yeah, that was yesterday
Oh,
as well.
wow.
There were several yesterday. So the rule of three is out this month for
Yeah, it's not like the it's 3 cubed.
yeah, it's like the rule of 300,
Yeah.
So
Yeah, right.
it's just crazy. And then Pete Rose. Pete Rose
Oh,
died
yeah,
as well
Pete
from
Rose
baseball.
too.
Yep.
Was
So
did was he ill, or just, I know
I
he
think
was up there in age.
he just it sounded like it was they think it was a cardiac
Okay.
style. It was
Was he 83?
cardiovascular disease. 83. We saw him, remember, several years ago in Vegas when we were in that mall to do that TV thing, and he was in the sports store and he was sitting there signing autographs and he waved
Oh, I
to
forgot
us.
about that. I forgot
So
about that.
I was like, oh yeah. So
Yeah, I have to say, especially in light of sports in general and the caliber of the morals of people involved in sports, they did him wrong by never putting him in the
he
Hall of
made
Fame.
a lot of mistakes. And one thing about the betting is, yeah, it was wrong and it was against the rule, and he should have been banned from like the time you completely broke the rules. Yeah, you can no longer manage, you can no longer play. But to say now you'll never get in the Hall of Fame, it's like no, his record still stands.
His record still stands. And
Yeah.
the betting, he always bet on himself to win. He never bet
Yes,
against himself.
and then
So,
and that showed that he had a problem, and he admitted to it. He
yeah,
goes, "I had a problem," and
yeah.
it was, but I
But
never bet. I bet to lose. I never at that point.
yeah,
If you're betting to win, you can't manipulate the game. It's not like the point shaving in basketball
correct.
or things like
The
that.
the
So
rules are to prevent manipulation of outcome.
yeah,
He was always betting to win, and always he was playing to win all the time. So
yeah.
it was wrong. Yes.
Mhm.
Should there been at least a temporary ban? I could see that. But all
Well,
these years later, especially like I said, the type of scandals that have come out over the years
yeah,
and people who have been forgiven for their stuff,
right.
really, this is going to be this is the hill Major League Baseball is going to
Well,
die
part of
on.
it too, though, I believe it was Bud Selig was the commissioner then, and he hated Pete Rose.
That's
They
really
had
what it came down.
they had a personal thing, and after, even though its commissions changed, they just have not gone back to. It's like they kept honoring that feud, and it's like, no.
Right.
I mean, people would say for years you need to let him in. He was that stuff just this past year. They're inviting him out for events
Yeah,
and things like that.
and the fans loved him still.
And he still represented baseball itself as a positive. He just didn't. And I said the betting is wrong, but now, of course, with way everything. I mean, hell, all the games are sponsored by multiple betting stuff on your phone.
I know. Yeah,
right
it's
here.
Barstool Sports, FanDuel,
Yeah,
DraftKings. Like,
yeah,
betting is everywhere now.
yeah. You can't get away from it. And I mean, the only thing I agree with is, they've said this. You can't. These guys that play can't bet. They're not supposed to bet at all in a lot of ways, but they can't bet on the sport they're in. But then the ones that got in trouble last year, a couple of the football teams, is because they were using their phones on property, making bets, even though it wasn't bets on their games. They say you can't do any of that. And I agree with that.
But it's got to be, with the access that there is through phones.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be hard to police that. It's going to be hard.
If they get caught, then that's where they get caught at. And it's being watched. Part of it too is that, I mean, these guys, you register with your own credit cards and debit cards, so you have to have your name on that. So you can't just hide through. You could try to hide through somebody else's name and use their account, but I don't see that happening too much. And I don't, the thing is that it's, if you're going to use it while you're actually actively playing, it's wrong. But for the sports betting, but if you want to go ahead and play your casino games, things like that, they won't say anything about that. But the sports betting is where the problem is. And of course, because it can lead to the corruption we've seen even before the easy access.
Right. Yeah.
Because there's billions, now even more, almost $1 trillion to be dealt with here in the betting world.
Yeah. It's, and with the economy the way it is and inflation up, they're making more money than ever. People tend to gamble more when the economy is down.
Right.
So,
yeah, and that's the thing. So it does attribute to that because people think, oh, if only I could just, I'll place these bets and I could just get enough to get by. It'll get me out of the hole, and it's quicksand. You're constantly going through that. So I like Scott and I both like to gamble. We both go to casinos, but we don't go with money we aren't willing to spend. Is the way I look at it. It's spending money. It's not living money. So,
correct.
And all that.
Yeah,
so
it can be a slippery slope.
Yep. Nope, I agree. So what else is going on this week?
Actually, there was I just saw this trailer come out for what it's coming out on Disney Plus. Wanted to show this. It looks really good. It's about John Williams.
I was gonna say I saw something this morning on that. It looks fantastic.
Yeah, here I'll play.
I'm excited about it. Yeah.
The greatest way to demonstrate how much music affects movies, play it absolutely with no music at all. And then go back and do the whole scene again with all the cues. And you'll recognize the absolute brilliance of John Williams.
I really think John Williams is up there with the greatest composers of all time.
Plays the first theme. You just go, oh my God, here's another one.
Star Wars basically would not be Star Wars without Johnny Williams' music.
People say, how do you do so much work? I was filled with the love of music and the pleasure of doing it with great musicians.
After he does music for my movie, I start to see my movie in his way.
The first thing I played for Steven on this piano was this. And I played that for him. He said, what is that? What are you going to do with it?
He's somebody who learned his skills painstakingly. I think people should see somebody who has worked alone in a room for 60 plus years. There's a lot of sacrifices, and I think that he expresses himself through music.
Music for a musician is like breathing. It supports us, sustains us, gives us energy.
The fact that the same man wrote music for Star Wars, the Olympics, Poseidon Adventure, and Earthquake, he always finds a way to tap into the essence of what makes it moving or meaningful.
The main reason I think it's important to celebrate him is just to say thank you for that amount of joy.
He's always in a process of discovery.
He finds a whole new way of telling the story musically each time. It's the purest form of art I've ever experienced from any human being.
Music is enough for a lifetime, but a lifetime is not enough for music.
Now that'd be one that if they were going to show it in the theaters, I'd want to go see it in the theater.
Yeah, I mean, he's legendary, and to think of, he really does understand how to use the music to connect emotionally to the viewer. And I like the line by Steven Spielberg is John Williams' music makes him view his movies differently once he adds the soundtrack. There's so much iconic. I love though. He's like, to think this is the same man who did Star Wars, Poseidon Adventure, and Earthquake. It's like, really? Those are the I think Jurassic Park.
I think it shows a great range though. When you talk about like Poseidon Adventure and Earthquake, it shows that he didn't just do all these grand,
right. He did tons.
He's
kind of like in regarding the art side of movies, two giants that formed, I think, most of our movie, not most, but you got John Williams with the music. And then, oh my God, I just blanked. He did all the movie posters.
Oh, Drew Struzan.
He defined the look of movies through his art for the movie poster. Now he's used as the template so much, it's kind of like, kind of getting old. But at the time, it was iconic the way he did his movie posters. you know, and
yeah. Oh yeah, it changed a lot of the way
yeah,
the posters were done since then, and people are emulating that style, you
right.
know, for that. But I was looking back through John Williams, he's got like 176
Wow.
composer credits.
I,
Going back to
like
1954, I did a short film called You Are Welcome, and then went from there doing different ones for a few years before he kind of just started taking off around 1960, really.
I truly believe 300 years from now, he will be mentioned in the same sentences as Mozart and Beethoven.
Oh, definitely. I mean,
Um,
you go back and look through all the stuff he did and uh, stuff he contributed to it. And the thing was, a lot of stuff was a lot of TV stuff back in the 60s. I was trying to see some. I mean, he did a few movies. Did like well, that's he did like Sergeant Riker, Fitzwillie. So it's things like Valley of the Dolls. He was uncredited as a composer.
he did Harry Potter too, didn't he?
He did do the Harry Potter, but really, yeah, which is, I mean, he was doing stuff in the 70s, more movies, you know, through like the Cowboys, John Wayne. Poseidon Adventure was where one of the another one of the bigger ones that got his name out there, and he still wasn't like this, like where he could just write his own check, I'm sure. But then he does, you know, like eventually like Earthquake in '74, followed by the Towering Inferno. So he's doing all these movies that were these disaster things, and then Jaws hit. When Jaws, of course, that really, I think Jaws launched him, and then after Steven used him for Jaws, I'm sure that's how. And George probably knew him before that, but that's how George probably went to him for Star Wars. And then you're back, you know, he's back again with Spielberg for Close Encounters, Jaws 2. Then he does Superman. So I mean, and then from there on, you just go look. The credits for the most part are a mix of, you know, all the great stuff we know and a few other ones. Like he did Heartbeeps, which was not a great film, but that was you know, one that came out then. And but really after that, it was like more and more of all the bigger name movies, things like that. But he just did a ton of stuff.
But yeah, take the music away from Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the same,
right?
It's just when Luke goes out and looks at the twin suns, and that the music, the music is what attaches your emotion to the scene,
right?
You know, and it's just so well done. So
well, yeah, and it is things like that, but it's. You know, it changes everything for every movie. The sound effects, everything, music is always an integral part of what we know. But you look at, there's been a lot of great composers over the years, but in our lifetime, years of mine, really the two big ones were, of course, first was John Williams, followed by Danny Elfman.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Danny Elfman is one that really, I think, continues on in that same way. So.
And I got to give a shout out to my brother regarding Danny Elfman. My brother is a carpenter and built Danny Elfman's studio in Danny Elfman's house.
Oh, very cool.
He's a shut-in. He does not interact with people. So when Brian would get there, he had to wait for him to go inside somewhere, and so he could enter. Like you would never see him.
That has changed because he started doing appearances at Comic-Cons.
Oh wow, yeah, he was.
So he's out and about now. He's doing more
nice
appearances again, playing and things like that. Not tons, but he's popped up at a couple conventions now. I think he's gotten over.
Well, that's good.
That aspect of it, because I've seen him pop up a couple times. So,
and the way he got that job is he built Tim Burton's home studio.
Oh, okay.
Tim Burton personally recommended him to Danny Elfman. So that's how
very cool. I hope he got paid quite well for that.
He did. Yeah, he's a really good carpenter. He lives out here now, so now he's not doing that. But I've heard all the stories of like Terry Hatcher and what a nightmare she is, and other people.
You see that show that came out with Pam and Tommy Lee. You know, they showed how horrible Tommy Lee supposedly was to these guys that stole the tape. And the reason they stole the tape wasn't they were stealing the tape. They were stealing they thought it was a bunch of money because they owed them a ton of money, and which was wrong anyways. But
yep.
So
good.
Very cool. So you know, Scott and I talked the other day, and you mentioned the Penguin. So I had a chance to watch the first 2 episodes. Have you watched both episodes?
I have like 10 minutes left of the last episode of the
okay, so you're pretty much there. We won't get too detail on the
there.
shows anyways, but I gotta tell you, man, this really is a good show.
I was surprised. I just watched it because like, well, I got nothing to do. I'll see how this is.
Yeah.
I really like it.
You know, Colin Farrell, I liked him in the movie, the Batman. I thought he was good. The Batman itself was not a bad movie. I was surprised at how much I actually did enjoy when I finally saw it.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't as excited about it because I didn't care for that first Joker film, and it felt in that same vein. I know they got the Joker Part 2 coming out, or Part 2 or whatever, which I'm still not excited about that, so I probably won't go see it. But that's me on that, and part of it is because Joker to me has always been, you need Batman and Joker together to be the catalyst, and when you have just a crazy psycho guy with makeup on, they can call him Joker all they want. And they're trying to make him the Joker from this stuff. It just doesn't feel like, or at least with the Batman, it was a version of Batman, and the Penguin here was a different version of the Penguin used to. But it worked.
I don't think the Joker is supposed to be in the same universe as the Robert
No, I think
Pattinson
it's its own thing, but it had the same similar
feel.
look and feel.
Right.
But again, I tried to watch that first Joker. I just didn't care for it. I know some people really loved it, but that was
I really liked the first Joker.
Yeah,
but the second Joker movie, I'm not interested in. I don't like what they're doing with it, and
well, reinventing the Harley Quinn, which you go back and that was done in the original Batman animated series. That's where she came from.
Yeah, and Lady Gaga is just they're not capturing Harley Quinn.
I don't think so. It's
yeah.
You know, they're making her another Joker, and realistically, Harley Quinn, and they've done this with Harley Quinn over the years. Anyways, they've made her too much. The original one, really, if you go back and really pay attention to how Joker and Harley Quinn, it's a very, very bad relationship, and she's definitely mentally abused by Joker, and they're always trying to make her more of a hero or anti-hero away from Joker, and
she was created for the animated Batman series.
Yeah.
And I don't think they've topped the way they portrayed her in the animated series yet. I think that's still the gold standard for me on the Harley Quinn character.
Yeah. Yeah. Arlene Sorensen was the voice of the original one. She passed away, I think, a year or so ago.
Yep.
I like the animated one better. And then it's changed a lot over the years. And then it's, that's fine. You expect characters to kind of grow and change, and they got her away from Joker, but they keep bringing it back. So, and that's always been the relationship on that. So
now what I find interesting here is, for me, I've always thought the Penguin as a villain is just kind of lame. And I did enjoy the Danny DeVito version in the Tim Burton movie. This is more real world, whereas Tim Burton was more cartoony the way it was portrayed. And when they announced they were doing a Penguin series, I'm like, is it really needed? Like, I had zero excitement for this at all. But I gotta say, they've won me over.
The way I've been noticing this is it's not really a DC series in terms of here's this character from DC. You have the Penguin. You have him based on certain looks. He's got the club foot. So that's what gives him the Penguin name. And they don't really refer to him as the Penguin. They refer to him as Oz and Oz Cobb instead of Cobblepot. He's almost a Tony Soprano in some ways, but he's not that level. He's one of the underlings, but he's got a Tony Soprano vibe to him.
Yeah, he uses his position of being low on the ladder to manipulate things and to elevate himself. So we're really seeing the rise of the Penguin through this. And it's kind of built. We'll see how they do it, but I'm wondering, is this series going to act as the way of building up the Penguin to be a major villain? And then the movie will come out and we'll have him as a threat that's on the Batman level at that point for the movie, I wonder.
Yeah. I'd like to see that. I think this would be a great way to actually bridge the stories better than we've seen in even the Marvel stuff.
Right. Because one of the things DC has trouble with is they always, in their movies, the villains are really well developed, but the heroes are kind of lame.
Yeah.
Well, by doing it this way, you can use the series to elevate the villain, to give them a lot of backstory, and then when you get to the movie, you can focus more on Batman because we know everything already about the villain.
Yeah, and other than the first 10 minutes of the first episode, we've not heard one word about Batman after that.
Right.
They talked about what happened in the movie a little bit. You got Batman, the Riddler. I mean, Penguin refers to him a little bit later on. Look what that madman did.
Yeah, I like how they open it up where it's the news is reporting the ending of the movie is being reported live on the news, and Penguin's watching the news.
Yeah, and what they're doing there, as like I said, it is the rise of the Penguin, but the beauty of it is it's allowing them to build up the entire underworld part without going to completely over the top with all the crazy villains.
Right.
You know, they're not going to try to go right to Clayface or
right,
this guy or Bane and things like that. So I think it's just it's a mix of that stuff, and that's what I think I'm liking about this. So
I feel like this would fit also well with kind of the way the Christian Bale one, Nolan, was it?
Oh
Nolan
yeah. Batman Begins, Dark Knight.
He went very real world with the
Yeah.
feel of his city and his villains, and I feel like this would also fit in that also.
Yeah, and I think that's what works. I think that's what worked with the Robert Pattinson Batman is they kept it real world. They didn't try to go back to either the Tim Burton or Zemeckis and all those guys through the 90s, where it felt completely cartoonish in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Still enjoy some of those movies, don't get me wrong, but I like the real world aspect of this. And what I like about we're seeing this gritty underside. They try to capture in different things like Gotham, the TV series Gotham, and a couple other things, but this seems to be doing better because we don't need to have Bruce Wayne, Batman, or something like that involved in this because we're not dealing with that aspect of the universe. It's dealing with the Penguin, because it's not needed. And then when it gets to Batman Part 2, I can see that definitely leading into this. And the Penguin's always been really as a character has always been more of wanting to be a mob boss, controlled that way. He's not wanting to be the over the top Joker, Riddler villain.
Yeah. Also, I think what works with this is because the Penguin is so low level right now on the crime ladder, it makes sense that Batman's nowhere to be seen.
Yeah.
Because Batman's dealing with the bigger problems of the city, saving people, fighting the bigger guys. Penguin wouldn't even be on his radar, really. I mean, he just had the one interaction with him in the movie. It was a really cool car chase we had, but he's not. Penguin's he's just a pawn right now at that level.
Right. Yeah, he's a manipulating pawn, which has been really fun to watch on that. So
yeah, he's playing, trying to play both sides against each other, and with the goal of himself being elevated.
Mm-hmm.
They add a little sidekick in here also to the Penguin. I like the character. I like how they're doing it.
Yep.
It's a nice touch. It gives a nice balance to the Penguin character. So, as a viewer, it gives you somebody to identify with.
And it's been a great way for us to get backstory on the Penguin without doing all kinds of flashbacks.
Correct.
This is the way I like stuff like this to be told. I like it when they say, okay, yeah, when I was your age, here's what I did. Here, I was a driver for so-and-so. When they hired me to be a driver, guess what? I couldn't drive. So I went and got a car and I drove all weekend. So, what I took the job, it was, things like that. He talks about his ambitions.
We meet Penguin's mom. And we kind of, just through their interaction, you can see why Penguin is the way he is.
Yep. There's some interesting dynamics there that I think will play out along the way. And it's where I think in some ways it's not true. They're not going full Soprano with it because Soprano, he took care of his mom, but he hated his mom. Tony Soprano did pretty much. She was just a miserable woman. With this one, he's taking care of it. She's not right in the head, and you can tell that. So
yeah. But the writing is very good, and it's the dialogue. It keeps you, even though the series itself is not like high action. It's not a fast-paced show at all, but the writing is really good, and it keeps you captivated. And I'm looking forward to seeing how the rest of the series plays out.
Yeah, I'm real excited for this. It's been tough to find something good lately to watch.
Yeah.
And I like this. I was looking up the one protagonist we got, Sophia Falcone. The Falcones and the Marconis have always been big. Maronis have always been the big ones within the Batman universe for the crime bosses. And I like that as Clancy Brown is back as Salvatore Maroni. He's in jail. I like it. I like that guy as an actor. He's just comes across very tough, and then he plays Mr. Krabs on SpongeBob, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
But you got like this Kristen Milotti, she plays Sophia Falcone, and she's going to be an interesting craziness within this series here. And I've seen her in a bunch of different stuff over the years, here and there. But she was in an episode of Black Mirror. She's done a lot of voiceover work and different things like that. So she's been around for a while. And I think she's going to bring a lot of cool stuff to this character, and I'm really excited to see how that goes. And funny thing is, she was actually in the Sopranos for a couple episodes, so she's got that
Oh, okay.
mob thing there. But I like her character so far too, and how they're dealing with her, and the fact that it's all dealing with what was her brother and everything else. So
Yeah.
So we're seeing this rise of these different crime families, along with the Penguin, and how that plays out, because the Penguin's always been intertwined within those different crime bosses and that. So,
and she came out of Arkham, so we know Arkham Asylum's here.
Yep.
It does tie into the Batman movie where the end scene revealed Joker, if I remember correctly, in the Batman movie. So who knows if maybe when he visits Arkham, maybe they'll throw something in there, or we see other villains who are behind bars. So there's definitely a mention of them.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see where that goes.
Yeah, and of course I had to go back. I did a quick little pull up here. It's the end of the original Batman. I have to go back and rewatch this again. I was thinking about this yesterday. I'll have to rewatch it because it's been a couple years. So, but we had the Riddler set off the bombs that flood Gotham City, so there's a lot of destruction we still see in this series. And the Riddler ends up in Arkham, so he's there. So the Riddler could eventually, if he doesn't make it in this series, now he could pop up at some point.
Right.
You find out the Riddler's motivations. They talk about the Catwoman's departure, which is Zoe Kravitz, and then her biological father is Carmine Falcone. And tries to kill him. She then leaves Gotham for Bloodhaven. The end credits, it's a website meant to be a teaser. Real more about the Bat universe. So I don't think you got true Jokers in there, but a little more. I have to go back and rewatch that one. But yeah, that was. I think I like the way this is going, and this is actually some of the best DC stuff I've seen in a while.
Yeah,
when it comes to the grittier side of these stories and that. So
it's actually making me look forward to a second Batman movie with Pattinson. It's
like we were saying,
no more.
If they tie it in properly like this, and it's all look, it's just like in the comics. There's always you have your main Batman title, but then they would have some supplemental titles that fill in other stories, go along, and if you read them all, then you got this richer, deeper story. And then sometimes it didn't work too. I mean, sometimes they get a little too crazy with their event ones, and they have like a bunch of other stuff that really mean nothing. But I like when you got other titles that tied into the main title and where they're going in a certain direction before an event, and that would be the main movie. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, very good.
So I did. I mentioned earlier before you got on, I tried to watch The Fall Guy last night.
Oh, you tried?
Oh my god! I gotta say,
huh?
The acting on this starts off bad right away. It's just it sounds Ryan Gosling sounds so flat, so boring.
Yeah.
He just sucks. And the whole thing they're tying into is, this love story of him and the one gal, played by Emily Blunt, and she becomes a director. And then he gets hurt right at the beginning. So he's working, as a valet, and then they want him to come back to be part of this movie. It's just, the whole premise is just horrible. The original premise of The Fall Guy worked. He's a bounty hunter. That worked.
Right.
This high thing, well, let's take him. We'll hurt the guy he was working for one guy for like 8 years. And it was a Tom Cruise type guy is what they were trying to make him to be. Even in the parody name. Acting was horrible. And story sucked. And I just couldn't get into it.
I don't understand the popularity of Ryan Gosling. He sucks as an actor. He's flat in everything he does. It worked as Ken, because Ken was supposed to be a flat character.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, he doesn't have range.
Yeah. He got noticed for The Notebook. Of course, that was, a chick film. And then I didn't care for Drive as much. La La Land was a movie I was actually looking forward to when it came out. I was like, okay, a modern day musical. And it was very just not good all the way around. And there were some things that were okay with it, but that was more mixed that stuff. The updated Blade Runner, that movie was flat all the way through anyways.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
think his best role is as Beavis and Butthead in the SNL skit.
Yeah.
Kevin says Crazy Stupid Love is his best movie, is what he's saying.
Or he was part of Remember the Titans.
He was on that?
Yeah.
I don't even remember him on there.
He was played Alan, and he was one of the characters in that. So Wasn't the main guy, so the main kid was Ryan Hurst.
Okay.
But Alan was one of the players and that stuff. So I just
yeah,
I was just horribly disappointed in.
Yeah, I just feel
I
he's
knew it would
always very
be
flat.
I didn't expect it to be great, but it was kind of like watching Ken and Barbie play Fall Guy. It's the best way I could describe it. And it was just crappy all the way around. I was just like, so I tried. I did, and it's free on Peacock. It's free on Peacock if you want to watch it. I don't waste your time. I put it on thinking, okay, let me check this out. Maybe it won't be as bad, but everything I'd read that says bad, they were being nice.
Wow.
So
any Lee Majors cameo?
I believe he's in it towards the end. I didn't see the Lee Majors part. I turned it off.
Okay. Yeah, you didn't make it to the end.
God, no, I couldn't get. I was like, this is just horrible. I should have went to bed.
Oh, here we go.
So,
there's an article here. How the Fall Guy pulled off that epic old school Lee Majors cameo. So I guess he does have a cameo.
Well, you got to have him in it, but I'm sorry, it's these remakes. This felt like they were trying to do a serious parody, but it came out just buffoonish. To where it's not even good. I get tired of taking these classic shows and then doing stupid remakes of them, like the Land of the Lost with Will Ferrell. That was stupid. The Starsky and Hutch, remake, that was stupid. Yeah, they threw the guys at the end, but it was still stupid. The Chips, movie was stupid. It's just some people may like this when they find them funny. I find them just dumb because the original, and maybe because I grew up on those original shows. It's like treat them with respect. Treat them properly. I mean, you want to throw comedy in there, it's fine, but do them seriously where it actually wanted to build like what they did back then, where you have a good story and everything else, not this crap that you just want to throw out there. And I said, and the whole story behind it is like, oh yeah, you got hurt if he was such a great stunt man, one, he'd had insurance to cover his behind on a movie set because they'd have to have all that. And if he got hurt as bad as he did, then he would have been taken care of in some ways, but I just didn't believe any of the whole premise for the setup. It was just stupid. And then he's in love with Emily Blunt character, and it's like whatever. So, but yeah, so I tried to watch it. It was bad, and then I watched a couple things since then. What did I watch? This? Oh, I did watch Wolves with Brad Pitt and George Clooney. I enjoyed it. It had a little bit of an Ocean's vibe, but liked a little bit more of an Ocean's vibe, but I liked it. And it had a little feeling of some Tarantino-esque from Pulp Fiction when they talked about the wolf from that, because they're similar type characters, which is cleaners. They clean up after mistakes and stuff like that. Where it ended, though, they could actually do another one. And I think it'd be interesting to see how that would go. And they could go from that one. They probably go a little more John Wick style. So, and they had a little bit of that in the movie, but not much. So,
yeah.
But yeah, so that's kind of a little bit of what I've done this week. So I don't know if you were gonna try to go see Transformers. You probably didn't.
I didn't get to go see it. With our real estate, we've got a couple closings this week and just last minute details. We're just a lot of follow up and stuff. So
yeah,
it's just been taking up more time than usual, but that's okay. It's all good.
Yeah, I thought about trying to go see it yesterday myself, but then I had a text from one of my people I shop for, and so I ended up going to shop a little bit yesterday while I'm working on inking, and then I'm going to start coloring on the new cover for the new book we all got coming out.
Very good.
So working on that. Of course, that took me. You don't use your drawing tablet in a while and screen, and so I had to go back and reinstall everything, and the pen wasn't connecting, so I had to figure that out.
Oh God, yeah.
So I spent like 2.5 hours on that while I was watching. I put in the first Alien movie. Was rewatching that and loved it. It's still a great movie. It still holds up. And then I started watching Aliens as I was working on it, and then I had to stop and then went and worked for a few hours. By the time I got home, it was just not happening. So
we did finish Umbrella Academy.
Okay.
So we got that done. I'm disappointed. Overall I enjoyed the series. I think this would have been better as a 3-part movie, a trilogy. Mm-hmm. I feel like sections of this series got dragged out and too long, but this goes back to our previous conversations we had about the problem with time travel stories.
Yes.
is you start getting stuck in a loop. Now, they did do the one thing that was needed to be done to break the loop.
Mm-hmm.
But, and we'll say spoiler alert, but the problem is it made the entire series irrelevant. So I spent 4 seasons watching something that never happened.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. Okay. What? Like, there was nothing the whole thing was, if I watched none of the series, the same thing happened. Nothing.
Yeah. Well, and that's kind of the thing. I mean, it is about the journey, and the ending is kind of negates everything, but at the same time, yeah, we could still. It is one of those series though that as I'm going through it, it's like I probably won't go back and rewatch it.
Yeah.
I'd read the first trade of the series, like that a lot. I may eventually pick some of those up just to finish out, see how the trades go.
Do you know if the series ended the same way?
I don't, because I never read the whole series, just the first trade and our first 2 trades, I think.
Yeah. I feel like there
Kevin
should
might
have been
know.
some kind of well, first of all, them resetting the timeline so that they didn't exist. The problem is it goes back much farther than that, because you have Sir Reginald Hargreaves.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's from a completely different world. And so did that wipe out all of those worlds' destructions too? So none of those worlds ended in the past?
I think it just wiped out everything, and then so what basically was left was kind of this location. Actually, I think where all these people we see that it's kind of like they're in this buffer that's protected, and that's where they'll all stay. But
I felt like it reset everything to the timeline of when they were born, so that those mothers didn't just suddenly get pregnant and give birth within 24 hours. Because they said on that day, nothing special happened.
Yeah.
So if you're only resetting the timeline to them, well, Hargreaves still had the marigold. He still had multiple worlds that got destroyed. He still released it. Because then they even have that little scene where you see those flowers open.
Yeah.
So is that the marigold showing it's still there?
That's the marigolds. I think it's supposed to be them, the group, and that's where they're at. Their permanent residence is stuck right there, so they're no longer born.
Flowers.
Pretty much, yeah. So
I thought it would be cool,
more of a symbolism type thing. So
I thought they were going to do a time jump and just show that they were still born, but born as normal humans, not superpowers within 24 hours. And maybe you just see a random interaction where you see they now exist as regular people, but maybe they don't know each other or something. I don't know, but
well, and I think that's been done a ton of times too with the time travel stuff. I think
it just became irrelevant at the end.
I think that to end a series like that when you're dealing with all this time travel, it gets so difficult. And they're talking about the cleanse. I mean, basically, it was leading up to this cleanse. And the cleanse was they had to cleanse themselves. They had to basically all be destroyed by that creature.
Yeah,
and then as if they never happened.
Right.
But
I guess.
Yeah.
Like in regards to Kevin's comment, it reset the original timeline and eliminated all other timelines. But the thing is, if the marigold was the issue, well, actually, the issue wasn't the marigold. The issue was that Hargreaves' wife created the opposite thing. So wouldn't you have to go all the way back to when she created the opposite thing and stop that? Like, I don't know. And then, like, she's mad at him for keeping her alive on the moon and then bringing her back. And then the whole Jean and Jean thing didn't make sense, where all of a sudden she was against Hargreaves. It's like, what's going on here? Like, it didn't make, to me, it just was weird. But I don't know. I felt like it would have been better had they just ended it at the end of season 3 and not done a season 4. Season 3, they came back to the timeline, their powers were gone, and they were now normal people, and it ended with them saying, well, let's just live our lives. And they all went their separate way. To me, that would have been a better ending for the series. And then you just leave it open to, okay, they're in the new timeline, and they're just going to live their lives out.
Yeah, I think it's just, they're trying to end it, and it's always a difficult thing with something like that, but basically by doing what they did, I mean, it was fine. I thought the season was okay. I did feel dragged out a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think where the ending was fine. And basically at that point it says, okay, the cleanse was just what Hargreaves always set out to save the world. That was the whole point of his thing, even though he didn't do it right. He was, maniacal in his own way, but by nothing happening, basically at that point, he realized that, okay, the date came and went and then nothing happened. So that means the world's saved and goes from there. But I think it's just, they wiped out everything.
Was he erased too? Because
I think he was erased. I think he was erased too. Is the way it came across to me anyways. But
here's Kevin's comment. Yeah. See, but I don't think he reset everything once. I think it was because he makes the comment that he has seen this happen on multiple worlds. So I think he has been doing this over and over again on different worlds.
Yeah.
And he used the marigold to save the woman he fell in love with, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. But so if you reset it though, does it reset all the way back to Hargraves never even existing? In which case, if he didn't exist, how could our timeline be the right timeline all the way up to the point that the children were born? Because they show him in the 1800s buying the land to build the hotel. So I don't know. I hate when you watch an entire series and the ending is none of it matters.
Well, and unfortunately, a lot of times it becomes, they do these series, it's just like Lost and everything else. They get lost in their own timelines and their own troubles, and we have to end it. This is the ending, and they just come up with here's the ending on this and that. Even in comics, I mean, same way. Like here's how it ends. Like, we've seen that a bunch of times. Like Marvel with like Civil War and other event comics to get to the end. It's like World War Hulk. I expect a Hulk that it was just a bland ending. One of the things they couldn't do certain things they want to do because it might actually killing characters for real in the comics, and they didn't want to do that. So
I think the difference is there's multiple ways to create stories, and when you create a story with a purpose, a lot of times you'll know the ending ahead of time. You might not know all the exact details because they kind of flesh themselves out, but you have a purpose for your story. Yeah. And so when there's a purpose, everything builds to that purpose, and the purpose becomes the ending and the climax, and it's fulfilling. Or you do it in reverse where you have a cool concept. It's like, oh, this would be cool. And you have cool ideas, but you don't really have an end point.
That's what we run into a lot with a lot of stuff out there is they have a cool concept. And that's why actually when people pitch stuff to me at shows, oh, I got this great idea. Okay, where are you going to go with it? I don't know.
Yeah.
You got to figure that out. And the reason is you get caught, it's like if you're driving in a car, if you don't know where you're going, and you go, I'm just going to take whatever, I'm just going to go here, and you have no end point in sight, your car could die in the middle of nowhere and nobody can help you because you have no idea of what's going on in your environment. Same thing with storytelling. Storytelling is taking that path where you want to go. I want to go to Orlando. Okay, how are you going to get there? And then the journey is the story.
There? What do you pack along the way? Yeah. All these things. So when you have the end point in a story, you know what to pack at the beginning so that you have the elements to sprinkle along the way and build up to it. But when you just have a gimmick, like, oh, wouldn't it be cool to have these time traveling teenagers who are part of this academy and they save the world, but in saving it, okay, now it starts coming to fruition. It's like, oh, wait, we have to write an ending to this. What's the ending?
It's just like I was talking about the Fall Guy. It's like, oh, I want to do a Fall Guy movie. Why? I love that series. Okay, and it's nothing like the series. I just took the name and I just took a couple little premises and then threw that in there, and it's gonna suck. But I get to do the Fall Guy, and stuff like that. It's and that's where the problem lies in a lot of storytelling and stuff like that is this crap there. So I just that's one thing is you got to have a point you want to get to, and I've run into my own writings. It's like where I'm going to go with this. So. And I've had an idea where I wanted to finish, like my Expendables. I think I ended it fine, like that stuff, but it was always meant to be a big parody and everything else. It was not meant to be the mini series. It was originally just the one shot, and it was meant to be just some fun stuff and things like that. But people enjoyed it enough, so I created that whole mini series with it. But I kind of knew where I was going. That changed a little bit here and there, and based on what some people told me, it's just like other things. Look at Star Wars. They supposedly the big rumor has always been George Lucas wanted to have Jar Jar Binks be more evil than he was, but people hated Jar Jar Binks. I never hated Jar Jar Binks. I saw him for what he was, which is basically the comic relief through the whole thing. More attachment for kids. He's be on that level, but if he was meant to be more, it'd been interesting to see. And I haven't watched it, but they got the new Lego Disney Plus series, rebuilding the Empire, or rebuilding the galaxy, where Jar Jar is Darth Jar Jar. So get everything got all mixed up. So interesting. But yeah, so Umbrella Academy's done, so we don't have to worry about that anymore.
Yep.
Real quick, I want to promote a couple pals. I got two different ones to promote. First, the Kickstarters is Detroit Folklore. Check this out. This is Terrell Culbert and Dave Brown. They got a new horror comic going on right now. It hasn't reached its funding yet, but it's getting close to the $800. There's 24 backers. I'll drop a link in there real quick in the comments. And in there, so definitely check that out. I've supported a lot of their stuff over the years. I like especially Terrell. He does some really fun books, and they get some cool artwork. So some local guys there. Another local guy, I got to go back here. Donnybrook, season 1 issue 4 is coming out from our good pal Dominic.
I didn't know about this one.
That dropped yesterday. He's at $190 at $1,000 goal, just getting started. If you missed out, he's got a great package for $25 to get all 4 issues, as well as his digital versions available. And it looks like he must have these done, because I think he's talking about December being when they will fulfill this stuff here. So,
nice.
But it is the best hockey comic of all time, because I don't know of any other hockey comics. But I definitely it's for mature readers. It's an interesting story. It's kind of loosely based on some of his experience of dealing in hockey and stuff like that. A lot of great stuff. They have jerseys available. His jerseys are always quite popular. So you can buy those based on the teams in the book. So definitely check that out. And there's a lot of different pledges available here. I did the $25 pledge because I think I may have issue 1, but I haven't picked up the other ones here. So I want to make sure I get all 4 issues only for $25. So I like to support my pal there. And then there's a lot of other cool options. You can get the McCarty signed graphic novel that he had came out with last year. A bunch of other cool stuff there. So definitely check out those 2 Kickstarters. And let me get the link for that one in the comments too. So there we go. And boom.
Nice.
So, but other than that, that's about it, man.
That's it. It's a wrap.
All right. Hey, we'll see y'all next week and talk some more fun stuff. Till then.
All right. Bye.